My name is Lisa, and I'm 26. I'm a graphic designer.
My name is Andrew Noakes, and I'm a trombone player, musician, and work as a barista right now.
We live in Cabbagetown, it's kind of like northeast Toronto.
The house we live in is a heritage home. It was built in 1874, I think.
We know because there's a plaque on the front of the house.
That's something that I've always looked for in a home, like some sort of history that's been around for a long time.
And not just like your designated box in a building.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous house. It's got a lot of character and cool like molding and arches and stuff like that. But it's also renovated, so it's like the kitchen and everything, the facilities are really great. I do not see myself buying a home anytime in the near future.
Definitely not have enough money for that.
And even like the lowest price point, if you look at a house, unless you're in like Lindsay, Ontario, or going back to Sarnia, you're not going to get anything for less than $500,000.
The average single family home is, I believe, about $1 million. We're creating an income disparity, so an income gap.
Toronto, it's the biggest housing market in Canada, so I think it takes expertise and it takes a lot of knowledge to kind of navigate the Toronto housing markets.
Well, I think there's go right down to the basics of what's happening in our city, and what I sort of see is that the city has really matured over the course of the last 10 years. We've become a city that is literally kind of approaching that alpha city status, and what I mean by that is we're already that sort of center for culture in Canada.
I would consider, starting off in a smaller housing market, say on the outskirts of Toronto, in a smaller Ontario town, or even, if you're from somewhere else in Canada, start somewhere smaller and kind of work your way into buying property in Toronto.
Where it is such a metropolis of amazing culture, that's why I live in a city. It's culture, not because I have four walls.
I can't foresee or imagine myself living outside of the city and commuting in, because I don't live in Toronto for being close to work. I live in the city because it's filled with everything that the city's filled with. Mm-hmm. The food and the people and the walkability and what it looks like. I'd rather chaotic culture over cul-de-sacs.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have to look outside, especially young buyers, and they have to look outside the traditional areas. They can't live in Bloor West, they can't live in the Annex, and they can't live in Cabbagetown. We need to build an infrastructure, a transit system, that they can live out the 905 and be happy and commute into the city within a reasonable length of time.
But then there's no sidewalks. There's you have to drive to everywhere. You have to drive to go to the grocery store, or drive to go to a park. You have to drive to go to a park. Come on.
Maybe our generation is becoming this huge amount of infrastructure was built to accommodate those people's American dream.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're not that stimulated by it.
Families still want that, either a townhouse or a semi-detached with yard space, but, the city's growing and there's not enough room for that.
One of my biggest stipulations was I want a front door. I don't want an elevator or a doorman or glass doors or anything. I just want a front door that I can walk into my home.
And I wanted trees on the street and a place to sit outside.
People need to compromise, and I think the city's working towards, making condos and mid-rise buildings more family-friendly. Approach family and friends about helping you save up for a down payment on either a condo or, another piece of property.
I would have no shame asking family for financial help for a down payment.
Me too.
I anticipate I'll be renting until I can predict a better salary.
I think that I would be okay with renting for maybe a longer time than previous generations have deemed acceptable to be able to find a place to buy within my limits of what the city is.
We've priced a lot of these young people out of the market, and that's really not fair. But what about the people that just missed that step in life, that did everything right, that went to university, that came out with a ton of debt, but they don't have parents giving them $100,000, or they didn't just get lucky? So we've got to look at it and say, okay, are they entitled to live in downtown Toronto? Maybe they're not.